All right, I think we're live. Good morning, guys. Happy Tuesday. I'm gonna give it a second for everybody to join. So something in the chat. Welcome. How y'all doing? Here we go. I got a couple people joining. How's y'all Tuesdays going so far? Pretty quiet day in the shop for me. If you don't know who I am, my name is Alex. I own two barbershops in Jacksonville, Florida, and I do these calls usually weekly just to give back. And it gives me ideas on ways that I can help you guys more in my free community as well as my paid community. So Retro Thunder, hello, welcome. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to fire away. I'm here to answer any questions that you guys have, any barber related questions. I'm a barber as well as a barbershop owner. I've been doing it for about 10 years. And yeah, I do this just to kind of give back. And it makes me better too. I learn from you guys. I feel like as much as I put out there, I feel like I get 10 times more back. So just makes me want to give even more. I just wish I could do this more often. That's the only thing is I do spend most of my time actually working on the business, so I don't have a whole lot of time to do calls like this. So not going to be able to do these forever, but I do have a free community that anybody can join. The link to that is in my bio, and that's how you can interact with me more outside of these calls. I also have some courses in there, and a lot of my courses are in the paid community, but I do have a free community with some free courses, and of course, I try to put this content out there so that anybody can benefit from the stuff that we talk about on these calls. So, what are you guys struggling with right now in your barbershop? Or, I mean, even if you're not struggling, what do you feel like is going well? Just so that, maybe I can take something away from it too. Have you guys had any aha moments lately? Any things that you stumbled on that you think could benefit other people? What do you guys think? I know that one thing that I learned recently, well, I've actually noticed this phenomenon a while. But I think we're actually going to lean into it as opposed to just like observing it. And one of the things that I notice is that every time we get a new product in the shop, the barbers get all excited about it, right? And they sell the shit out of it. So I'm like, oh man, this is a great decision. This is a great decision to buy this product. And then we order more, right? And just sitting there on the shelf. So. I thought, I see some companies, they build their businesses based on drops. Like every week there's a new drop or every month there's a new drop. Usually it's related to clothes, but now I'm seeing it work its way into restaurants. Like Crumble Cookie, for example, is a business that's built on every week they have a new menu, right? So there's some built-in scarcity and urgency when with those kinds of things. So I'm thinking about testing that for products, just to see like, what if we just instead of just accepting this as reality, is there a way that we can just rotate our products so that way there's some scarcity? Like we're only going to have this month, right? So if you want this product, or if you like this product, we're only going to carry it for this month, so you better get it now, right? And then getting the barbers involved too is something we're going to test as far as like which product should we carry because they're going to be the ones using it. So ultimately, it doesn't matter how much I like the product. If the barbers don't like it, if they're not using it, if they're not talking about it, then we're never going to sell it. So yeah, so that's something that's kind of one takeaway that I've learned. Um, Retro Thunder, I'm struggling to get clients to work on Wednesday and Thursday. So you're struggling to get clients in on Tuesday and Wednesdays. Yeah, I mean those are at least in our shop, it's very similar. Like Tuesdays and Wednesdays are typically the slowest days. Not always, but it also depends on who's working, because I will say that retention is the thing that's going to keep your schedule busy in the long run. So I know that's the case with my barbers, and for me, maybe it works differently where you guys are watching this from. But in general, if you are retaining your clients, it almost doesn't even matter what days you work. You're going to be fully booked like all the time. You're probably going to get to the point eventually too where you have more clients coming in to see you than you can possibly handle, right? And that's a good thing. That's when you have more options, like changing your schedule or raising your prices or both, right? So there's a few things that you can do as far as tactics go, but I will say that everything ultimately just leads to trying to get clients to come back, right? Is the ultimate game in our business of barbering. The game is get people to come back, right? And that will help ultimately prevent you from having any slow days, including Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But in general, we have seasonality in our business. Like right now, at least in where I'm at in Florida, typically this is a pretty slow month. June and July are typically some of the slowest months of the year. So, but just like there's slower months the year, like some of you guys might not realize that, but there are like it's not always consistent. There are slow days, right? So Tuesdays and Wednesdays, it's the same in our shop. Typically, those are slower days. So things that we do to combat that, which again, all of this leads to we got to retain our clients, right? But to things that can help with retention, right? Obviously, one of my most recent YouTube videos, I actually broke down what your retention needs to be in order to build as a client, right? Or build clientele as a barber. And it turns out that and if you think about it, the math makes perfect sense, right? The reason I throw a lot of math out there, by the way, is because I'm realizing that business is just math, right? So if you think about it, if you're retaining 50% of your clients, let's say, how long do you think it will take you to get booked? It's kind of a trick question. But if you haven't seen that video yet, just throw your answer out there. How long do you think it will take you to get fully booked if you're retaining 50% of all of the clients that sit in your chair? So you had, let's say 30 clients come in that week, 15 of them came back like next month, right? Well, I'll tell you the answer. It's you'll never get booked, right? Because um that's why it's kind of a trick question. Because if you are losing half of the people that sit in your chair, for every new client you gain, you lose one. So you're not actually going anywhere. You're not making any progress. And as a barbershop owner, the way I think about it too is, well, this barber is not really helping me build the business, right? So I think going forward, probably one of our standards in terms of retention is going to be you got to be at least at 51%. And even at 51%, it's going to take years to become fully booked. And obviously, the higher the number, the faster that happens, right? So that's the goal, right? That's the problem we're trying to solve is to keep as many clients coming back as possible. But there are let's say that's not an issue with you, right? Because it is possible that you have good retention, but that your revenue is kind of lumpy, right? So it's more concentrated on like Friday, Saturday, right? Which is a common problem. Um, but I will say that most barbers are reactive when it comes to their schedule, okay? I see this all the time in my barbershop too, right? So what we're trying to do is change our mindset and change it from like hoping clients come in to planning clients come in, right? So this is actually one of the more recent courses that I made, but I made a whole course about rebooking for my paid community. And it's probably like nobody's watching it because nobody realizes how important rebooking is. But you can actually help fill your Tuesdays and Wednesdays by booking clients on those days. I mean, it sounds pretty simple, right? And it is. It just takes work to get clients to get used to doing this, right? Because most people are like, well, no, I'll just go book online. And if you're not busy, it's like actually even harder to get people to rebook because they know you're not busy, right? Especially if you have online booking, if they're able to walk in or book the same day, then they subconsciously, right? They understand that you're not like super busy. So it is harder to rebook people in the beginning, right? But once you get people in the habit of doing this, you can start to actually be proactive with your schedule and you shift people from your busy days to your slow days, right? So you can get people to, um, say, and as long as they're cool with it, right? So it's all up to the client at the end of the day. But if they're available, right? Why come in on Friday when I'm already busy? Let's come in, let's set you up for Tuesday, you know? Same with Saturday, right? So some people can only come in on Saturday, right? So you're not gonna be able to shift those people to a slow day. But if they have open availability or they're flexible, try to shift them to Tuesday or Wednesday, you know? Really easy tactic, doesn't cost anything. Another thing you can do, and this is probably one of the more controversial things I've ever tested, but you can start charging more on your busy days. So I don't know if you have control of your pricing. If you do, then you can start implementing what I'm testing currently, which is surge pricing. So we actually apply this to every day. We don't have like specific days. That would be a simpler way to do it, simpler than what I'm doing. But you can do surge pricing, right? So you can say if you come in on Friday and Saturday or Sunday, um, it's more, right? So if you don't want to pay more, then come in on the days that we're quieter. Simple, right? What I do is a little bit more complicated. So basically, any day is subject to like surge pricing. I set it so if we get to 80% booked or more, that surge pricing triggers, right? So it could be any day, even on a Tuesday or Wednesday. Um, and I like that because some people, like I said, can only come in on Saturday. Like that's the only day they can get their haircut. So I didn't really want to punish those people. And if we're having a slow day, then I don't want to discourage people from coming in. So yeah. So you perfect. Yeah. So if you have control over your pricing, then those are two things you can do. Right. I think the rebooking is going to be, something easy. It doesn't cost anything. It's takes a little getting used to, right? And I cover some of these things in the rebooking course that I have in my paid community. But basically, it's just as simple as making it a habit, trying to get your clients to think about booking their appointments ahead of time. And if they have a flexible schedule, try to shift them from your busy days to your slow days. Another more advanced tactic you could try is like what I'm doing with the surge pricing, right? Like or day specific pricing or peak day pricing, whatever you want to call it, right? But basically if we're busy, it's more, right? So if you want to come in on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's going to be a little bit more, you know. Or what I do is like any day. Any day is subject to surge pricing. If we're not busy, then it's regular price. Or you can even do a discount on your slower days. I don't really recommend that, but but the idea is to get to start shifting some of that business to from your busy days to your slow days. So that's the way we decided to kind of attack that problem, right? Is rebooking first, and then we just started testing surge pricing. So yeah, that's been working well for us. So far, nobody's complaining. It doesn't actually seem to be people are just paying more right now to come in on busy days. It doesn't actually seem to be affecting it doesn't seem to be shifting people from the busy days to the slow days like I thought. I mean, maybe long term it will. It's just so new. We've only been doing it for like 2 months. Um, yeah, so I don't know yet. Is the short answer. Like I don't know whether the surge pricing is a good idea in the long term. I just know that so far, since we've been testing it for the last 2 months, nobody's really complained about it, and people are just paying more on the days that we're busy. So it's kind of like no problem so far. Um, so it's been going pretty well, I would say. But again, it's new, and I'm not recommending you do it. It's just that's what I'm doing, to solve that problem. If you guys have any questions, by the way, feel free to type them in the chat. I'm happy to keep answering Retro Thunder's questions, though. So, what are your thoughts on giving out flyers and cards? Do I still think it's effective? Yeah, for sure. I think all marketing is effective. All marketing works. It's just a question of um, return on investment, return on time, return on effort. That's kind of how I look at it, right? So it's a pretty low cost way of marketing. So return on investment might be there. But I would think about it too as return on time. And I also think about it in terms of leverage, right? It's kind of like a low leverage thing where those flyers aren't you know, getting in front of people unless you're out there putting them there, right? So I'm not a big fan of low leverage activities, right? So like right now I'm streaming, I'm doing this live Q&A, right? It's going to YouTube, it's going to Facebook, it's going to Instagram, um, some other places, right? And I'm recording it so that I can take clips from it later and then repurpose that as clips on social media, right? So I'm getting a lot out of this activity. And I'm also learning, right? So because I'm learning from you guys and maybe you're getting something from me too. So this is a pretty high leverage activity, right? The alternative to this would be maybe me going to a barber expo and speaking on stage, right? Which is a very low leverage activity. So I have to fucking get a plane, right? And go fly to the thing, speak on stage, and nobody's ever going to see that talk again, right? So I would prefer this, right? Because I can get multiple uses out of it, and people can watch this recording for years. So I'm a big fan of high leverage, and I like to do things that are high leverage. So this is why I'm a big fan of running paid ads, right? Because my ads are always working 24/7. They never get tired. They never call out sick. As long as my credit card is working, right, the ads are working, and I can adjust the budget up and down, but they're always working. Content is another way to get a high leverage. You make one video and then you can share it everywhere. But it still works, right? What you're doing, the flyers, the cards, definitely effective, right? It's just there's a time cost. It's not really like money cost, but there's a time cost. And it's just not the way I built my shop, right? I built my shop based on Google reviews and ranking high on Google when people are searching for a barbershop, and by running paid ads, right? That's the way I did it. But there's people out there that don't know how to run ads at all and are running a really successful shop. So I think there's different ways to do it. That's just not the way I did it with flyers. Um, What I did do is get a label at the QR code in the back. It's the back of my windshield on my car. Yeah, that's great. I used to have my truck wrapped, and that lasted for about a month, maybe. And I don't know. I always felt like I was gonna get a bad review if I accidentally made a turn and didn't have my turn signal on, or if I cut somebody off, right? So I got kind of I scraped it off. I scraped it off my truck. But it was actually, I think that I read somewhere in a book that the highest return on investment that you can possibly make when it comes to marketing is probably wrapping, like a vehicle wrap, you know, because you pay one time and then like hundreds, if not thousands or tens of thousands of people might see that while you're driving up and down the road. So, yeah, using your vehicle to advertise your business can be very effective, very effective. So I don't think that is a bad investment at all, and it's a one-time thing. I mean, eventually you're gonna have to replace it because it gets hot and the stuff peels off. But I think that's great. The cool thing is the way I've learned what to focus on when it comes to marketing is I actually started asking my clients, how did you hear about me? And I started doing this when I was working for somebody else. And I noticed that a lot of the people were saying, Google. I found you guys on Google, like 9 out of every 10 people. Probably more than that. Like almost everybody that I asked, every time I asked them, how did you hear about me? Or how did you hear about the shop? They said Google. So I'm like, all right, so Google is pretty important, And I learned this by talking to my clients. So that's one of the best pieces of advice I think that I can give you is ask your clients like how did they hear about you, and then lean in on that. What the common things that you start hearing, like how is it, let's say it's Google, let's say it's Yelp, let's say it's Booksy, whatever that people start saying, then that just tells you that that shit's working and you should probably go harder on that, right? If it's the flyers, then do more flyers. If it's the car, then I don't know, park your car in a more visible spot so that it's advertising even if you're not driving it, right? So yes, I do think. I absolutely think Google is better than Yelp. But I will say that it's really dependent on where you are, right? Because in some parts of the country, Google is way more effective. Like where I'm at, most people go to Google, right? But there's other parts of the country where people trust Yelp more, right? So I'm always just a big fan of why not both? You know, if you guys might have heard me say in my content, like the best businesses can figure out the and, not or. So it's not like Google or Yelp. It's like let's do Google and Yelp. Let's make sure we're showing up on both. Let's make sure we have a good reputation on both. You know, now as far as advertising goes, I did not have good results with Yelp personally, but I am running ads on Google. So I believe a little bit more in Google. But right now, you know, Google still works right now, but what's going to be true in a few years? Like, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to like look back and watch this recording in a few years because AI is changing everything. You know, even I'm starting to go to ChatGPT and Gemini now to search for things because I just want the fucking answer. I don't want to like look through a bunch of links and read an article and then still not on my have, you know. So, and that's the way a lot of people are starting to use AI now. But the way it works right now, at least, is AI still crawls like Google and Yelp and basically the whole internet when you ask it a question. So, yeah, if you guys can put this to the test, but if you put into AI right now, like what is the best barbershop in Jacksonville, Florida? Um, we're probably going to be on that list, right? We may not be at the top, but we're going to probably be on that list. And that's because we've worked really hard to build up our Google reviews and we have a great website. And, you know, AI notices that stuff, right? So yeah, I would say do Google and Yelp. Like have a presence on both and make sure that you have a good reputation on both and that you're responding to both. And by the way, here's another tip. All of the photos and videos that you post on your social media can also go on Google, right? A lot of people just think about having a great social media profile. What about your Google profile? You know, take all those photos of those nice haircuts you did, put them on Google as well, right? Um, what is Gemini? Gemini is basically Google's version of ChatGPT. And so now that I'm getting more familiar with both, I'll actually take the same question, the same prompt, and I'll put it in both, and I'll actually compare the responses. And sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're not. So actually, it's like having like two consultants now. I can ask two different people the same question, and most of the time it's the same response, but sometimes it's not. And sometimes I like one better than the other. But it's good to use both. So Gemini is just basically Google's version, ChatGPT, and there's other ones out there, but those are the main two that I use. Pretty much on a daily basis now. I use ChatGPT and Gemini to do all kinds of stuff. It just kind of speeds things up, you know. Still got to put the work in. You still got to put the prompt in. But yeah, and now you can make photos or images. It's like some of the stuff I share on my social media now is our stuff that I generated with ChatGPT and Gemini now can generate videos. So actually, one of the ads that I'm running right now um, is an AI generated ad. This guy isn't even real, right? It's just it's just a video that I generated with Gemini. So that's kind of cool. What if we don't have to have videographers in the future? That's a crazy thought, right? What if we can just make everything with AI? Um, so yeah, that's the answer to your question. What is Gemini? Um, yeah, okay. Telling your clients to write reviews. Yeah, that's great. How many reviews do you have now? I think the more the better. And just know that it takes a long time. It takes a long time to build up your reviews. Like we have a little over 1,300 reviews right now at one of our locations, and the other one is at a little over 600. Um, yeah, and If I knew then, like when I was first starting out, what I know now, I mean, I'd probably have like 10,000 reviews. So that's actually my next milestone that I hope to hit is 10,000. Want to be the only barbershop in our city that has 10,000 reviews. Right now, we're the only one that has 1,300. So we're already at the top there. So, if you're not showing up on that first page of Google when somebody is searching for barbershop in your city, then you got work to do, right? And a lot of that ties to Google, like the reviews, right? So 30 reviews so far. That's great, man. Keep going. Remember, I started with zero. I started with zero reviews. And then I was just like, I want to get to 10. And then I was like, okay, once we got to 10, let's get to 50. And then once we got to 50, like let's get to 100. And then I was so excited when we hit 1,000, right? And then now I'm like, let's shoot for 10,000, right? I want to be so far ahead that nobody will ever be able to catch up. Um, you probably already answered already, but does it cost anything to have a Google listing? No, no, it's free. Now, not everybody can create one though. So the Google's a little bit more strict now on who can create a Google listing. So you basically just have to prove that you're the owner, right? Um, but anybody can create one. Anybody can try, and it's free. But yeah, that's kind of the asterisk in that, Andy. It's you have to. They might send you something in the mail to prove that you're at that address, or you might have, I think you have to like send them a video now or something. But yeah, you basically there's another step, right? It's not like creating a Instagram. Like you you have to prove that if you're going to show up on Google Maps and everything, Google wants to know that you're a real business. So that's kind of the stipulation to that. I mean, anybody can go to Google. I think. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can show you. But you go to Google My Business. I hope you guys can you guys see that? So go to Google My Business, and then right here at the top it says Get Listed on Google, and then you go Start Now. You know, and I already have a my listing already, but this is what you would go through. You name it, category, and then you just go through the steps. And I cover all this stuff in my course. Actually, I have a whole course on Google, how to get reviews, stuff like that. But this is the first step. You got to create your profile and then prove that you're a real business. So I actually don't know the answer to that is if they will let you as a booth renter. I've seen people do it. I've seen people that have their own suites and everything create a Google account, a Google Maps listing. But I don't know if they're going to allow that as a booth renter. You can just try, just try. And if the worst they could say is no, and if they say no, then you just try to build your reputation under the barbershops, right? Because they probably already have one, hopefully. And then you just get them to write, your clients get them to write you a review on your barbershop's listing, right? That's easier, arguably, right? Because people are going, already probably going to that listing and or they already have some reviews and then just make sure it has your name in it though. Like that's the key. Like if you're working for somebody else and you're trying to fill your chair, rather than going out and creating your own Google profile, which your owner might not be cool with, right? Like I wouldn't be cool with that if my barbers did that. And they're employees, so I have a little bit more control over that stuff. But you just ask your client to write you a review on your barbershop's profile. But because it's for the barbershop, it's not really helping you that much. It is helping you, right? But if you want it to help you directly, then make sure it has your name in it. Like tell your clients that are writing you the reviews, like, please put my name in it, And you can incentivize them to, like, you can give them a discount for writing you a review. What I actually like to do now is I like to do giveaways. So it actually has turned out, I think it's more effective than giving a discount. And it also caps your cost, right? So which is kind of cool because what we used to do, and this was a little extreme, but we used to do a $10 discount on your haircut if you wrote us a 5-star review. You had to write it though before you left the shop, right? In store. And that's also the key. Like you got to get them to do it while they're there, because if they leave, they're not going to do it. And the chances go way down. So get them to do it while they're there. Make it easy. Have a QR code or send them the link so they know exactly where to go. Maybe even send them a script. Tell them exactly what to say, and then make sure it has your name in it. So yeah, it's simple, not easy, but basically you're just trying to build your reputation under somebody else's name. If you can't create your own Google account. So, and if you're working for somebody else, the chances are a little bit lower that you're going to be able to create your own Google account. It might be possible, but Google just wants to make sure you're a real business. So if that's not you, then focus on building your reputation under somebody else's brand. And the way I do the raffles, by the way, is I'm just like, so you pick a prize, it's got to be worth it. Typically, I do something in the neighborhood of $100 to $300, value, and I just say like, hey, we're giving away this thing to, you know, a random person that writes a 5-star review this month, right? And your views will explode if you do that, right? And it caps your cost because you're never going to spend more than whatever that prize cost you. Versus if you give everybody a $10 discount, like that can get really fucking expensive, as you guys might imagine. We see thousands of clients a month. So if we're giving everybody a $10 discount, I'd rather spend $500 on a giveaway than do that. So yeah, I was thinking of doing a raffle for every review is the entry and a chance to win. Yeah, I think that'll work, you know? Um, People, for some reason, I think I forget the psychology term. I think it's survivorship bias, or basically everybody thinks they're going to be the one, right? Everybody thinks they're going to be the one to win it. There's only going to be one winner, so only one of those people is right. But but yeah, I mean, the raffle is way more effective than actually giving everybody a $10 discount. That's at least what I found in my barbershop, right? So that's been just like a play that I run every month now. So we do a giveaway pretty much every month now. Right now, I'm giving away a Meta VR headset to what are we incentivizing this month? So the barber in our shop that has the highest sales is going to win a Meta VR headset, and then we're going to give away a Meta VR headset the to a client who has an active membership and they have an address on file. The reason we're doing the address on file, there's two reasons. There's a public reason and there's a private reason. So what we're telling the client is, well, how are we going to know where to send it if you win, right? We got to have your address, which is true. Or they can come pick it up in the shop. The reason we want the address is because we plan on opening more locations and we got to know where our next location is going to go. So we're going to just start that process now of collecting as much fucking data as possible so that we're not guessing when it comes time to open our next location. We're like, put all these addresses, really all I care about is the zip code. Take all these zip codes, put them in ChatGPT or Gemini, and be like, where's the highest concentration of clients outside of where we currently service? That's where our next location goes, right? Um, so yeah, but you can use giveaways to incentivize whatever behavior you want. And I don't have a course on it yet, but I do have a really nice framework that I've been using. Um, to basically come up with contests every month, right? And eventually I'm gonna have this shit so tight that it's like, here's the playbook. It's February, you got to focus on memberships, or it's July, you got to focus on product sales or something like that. And then these are the prizes I recommend that I've tested that my clients and my barbers find valuable so that they actually try. And then here you go. Like eventually I'll just make a course about that for my paid group. But basically that's the way it works, right? What is the thing that you're trying to reward? Um, Come up with a prize that people actually care about, and then you run a contest around it. Yeah. And then you give it away. So we do it with reviews too. We do it with sales, products, whatever you feel like the lever that you want to pull in your business, you tie an incentive to that. and you'll watch the numbers change. And it makes it fun too. The barbers love it. Like you're talking about trying to make it a fun place to work. I mean, barbers love this when you do this kind of stuff. But if you're working for yourself too, I mean, you know, clients appreciate it too. They think it's really cool, especially if we gave away a TV in November and December, and TVs now are like not expensive, guys. We gave away a 65-inch TV, and it was like $200 or whatever, like these things. But it's the box is fucking massive, right? It was big, and it's this big orange box too. So it was hard to miss. We had this big ass TV sitting on our product shelf, so it was like naturally like a great conversation starter. Like, what's that? You know, and then it's just like, well, you can win that by if you rebook your next appointment before you leave, right? So you can also incentivize rebooking. Um, you can incentivize whatever you want with these contests. Yeah, man, that's a great idea. Already started collecting the zip codes. Yeah, so you're gonna need like hundreds, if not thousands. But yeah, yeah, I wish I would have started this process years ago, right? Um, but hey, I started now and hoping to open another location sometime next year, maybe 2027 at the latest. And so between now and a year from now, we would have seen like thousands and thousands of clients and probably collected hundreds of zip codes, if not thousands. Um, so we'll have a really good idea of where our clients are coming from a year from now. So that'll give, I think, the next location a really good chance for success is if we're putting it in an area where we already have clients. Right? Another way, this is actually maybe something that you guys can weigh in on, but like, what do you think I should be looking at when it comes to how to slice up the data, right? Because we're basically just collecting data from everybody. Like it doesn't matter. Like anybody that has spent money in our shop, we're collecting their zip code or their address. But I was thinking about just looking also at the like the top spenders, or looking at people who only looking at people that have a membership, for example, or only looking at people that come in, at least once a month. So there's different ways to kind of slice it up because if you're just looking at out of all the clients, like where do they live, or do you just want to go after your best clients? Do you want to go after the people that have spent, you know, there's some people that have been coming to us for like since before I was even a barbershop owner. Like they followed me from the original, the OG shop. I'm like, man, I need to find more of you guys, you know? So it's that's another question we're gonna have to answer. It's like once you have the data, like that's just the first step, you know? Okay, great. You have the data now, but now interpreting the data is like the next step. And it's kind of like it's like when the first time you get a really good software for your barbershop, it's it's like, oh my God, like you're getting so much information now. But then the next skill that you have to learn is like how to actually interpret that. Like, what do I do with all this now, with all this information now I didn't have access to before? So I think that's actually kind of the level two skill. Like first get the right software, get the right systems in place so you can actually measure how your shop's doing. But then you got to figure out, okay, how do you actually interpret this data? And this is where like people like me come in because I learned this lesson a long time ago. And I actually got help too. People showed me like these are the numbers that you need to look at in order to see how your business is doing. And then you start working on influencing that number, whatever that number is. Like you can influence it now. Now that you got the data, you know how to interpret it. Now let's work on influencing it and improving or driving the number down, whatever direction you want it to go in, right? Like retention, for example, you want your retention to go up, your churn to go down. You want your expenses to go down, you want your profit to go up, right? So it's really powerful when you can figure out ways to actually influence those numbers. What's your best advice on walk-ins and retaining them? Well, I think you should definitely check out the video that I posted on my YouTube channel. I'm gonna show you guys where to find that. Let me just pull it up. I'm pulling it off screen here. Because this is why I make YouTube videos, right? Is because I get a lot of the same questions. And so this video was how to build clientele, right? Or basically the idea was why retention is important. And I think around the second half of the video, it talks about how to actually increase your retention. So it's around this, yeah, here, you see right here. So this part of the video, like 10-ish minutes or so in, is when I actually talk about, okay, well, now that you know retention is important, here's how to actually, influence it. So some of the things are, of course, consistency, time management, communication, all that's important, right? So rather than just kind of repeating myself, I would just say, look for this video, the video titled this on my YouTube channel, and it's Alex J the Barber on YouTube, and it's free, right? Anybody can watch this. It's public, and then you'll see. You'll understand. The first part of the video is just explaining how important retention is and how it directly influences how fast you build. The second part of the video talks about how to actually improve retention based on what I've actually seen work in my barbershop. But I will say, oh, there's another one. Let me see if I can pull it up for you guys off screen. But I actually asked Chat GPT the same thing. Well, actually, it was a little bit different. So the other day I asked Chat GPT, what are the factors that cause somebody to leave a bad review? So, oh no, actually Gemini that. Actually. So Gemini, I'll pull up Gemini, and then I'll share my screen here in a second once I got it ready for you guys. So I asked Gemini to show me the bad reviews, to analyze all the bad reviews from my competitors, and to come up with basically an infographic, like to show what are the common traits, like what is being mentioned in these reviews. So the answer to your question is here somewhere, right? It's basically do the opposite, right? Do the opposite of what I'm going to show you. So this is the infographic. Hopefully, you guys can see this on Instagram. So yeah, basically, these are the reasons why people leave bad reviews, at least the most common reasons, right? Haircut quality, wait times, or punctuality. So punctuality meaning like they had an appointment at 12 and maybe you took them back at like 12:45. Like that's going to be hard to retain a client if you're constantly doing that, right? Professionalism was another one. Just barbers being unprofessional. They don't look professional. They don't act professional. They don't speak professional. The shop doesn't look professional, right? Which that goes into the next thing that, which I think something on here was like cleanliness, right? It might be on a different thing. But pricing and value, like if clients don't understand the price or they don't feel like they got their money's worth, going to be hard to retain them, right? So things like that. But these are the main things, right? Poor haircut quality being the number one thing. And you can actually fix this. I actually think in my experience, most barbers mess up haircuts because they don't do a thorough consultation. And I also have a YouTube video about it's a 45-minute long video about how to do a proper consultation because this is the most common problem I see in my barbershop when we do get a bad review or when we get a client complaint. It's usually because there was a misunderstanding. All of my barbers are really good at cutting hair. So I know that it wasn't like a skill thing. It was just they got something different than they thought they asked for. So that is a bad haircut in the client's eyes, right? Even though it might look great, but that's not what they wanted. And a lot of that can be fixed in the consultation, right? And the next thing, long wait times, try to stay on time. Like I have one of the first courses I made for my paid group was a how to cut hair faster course because this is a huge problem in my shop, right? No, not anymore, but it used to be like, okay, your people are waiting 30, 45 minutes past their appointment time. That sucks, right? That's one of the main things that people get frustrated about. And then try to be professional. And then you know, but scheduling booking issues, I mean, I think that that's just they can't get in, or your website's not working, or the wait time is too long, or they have to, it'd be a variety of reasons. But these are all the things that people complaining about when they're writing a bad review. And so, what to do about it? Gemini suggested some things. Mandatory 3 minute pre-cut consultation. Simple, easy, right? Strict adherence to appointment times. If you say your haircut takes 30 minutes, then that's what you got to spend. If you need more than that, then give yourself more time. But you got to do it within it's the time that you set, right? Because otherwise your next guy is going to be waiting. And then poor value, right? So you want to make sure that you are delivering what was expected, ideally over delivering. You're giving them more than they thought, and that's what's going to lead to clients feeling like they got their money's worth. But also don't forget about the atmosphere, right? People want to feel comfortable where they're at, right? So you got to think about who's your ideal client and build your shop around those types of people. If you do that, then you're more likely to increase your retention. But I also talked about specific tactics in that YouTube video that I mentioned. Um, all right, this is probably the last question that I answer, and then I'm gonna head out. So, how long are after graduating do you think is a good time to become a suite owner? So, there's not really a time. I don't think you should tie it to time, Angie. I think that it should be based on skill. Okay. So you need to have two skills, I think, in order to make the jump to a suite owner. Because, and this is coming from somebody who has seen barbers leave his shop multiple times to go do a suite and then end up back in the barbershop. And I hire people, and I actually like hiring people that used to be in a suite because I know that they never want to go back to that, right? Because it's really like running your own business, except you're your only employee. So, if you don't cut hair, you don't make money. So I think it's a question of skill, right? So the first skill that you need to have, which you can actually both of these skills you can start working on right now, is you have to be able to retain clients, right? Because it's just like running a barbershop. You have to be able to retain clients. It's the same thing when you're an individual barber. And you are running your own barbershop if you're on a suite, right? Again, you're your only employee. So you have to be able to retain clients. And like I showed you guys earlier, I think you have to be at least 51% total client retention. But, realistically, if you want to be one of the best, like the best barbers in my shop are retaining 90% plus of their clients, all of their clients. So you want to be as high as possible. So focus on the retention tactics that we covered in this call and that I cover in some of my YouTube videos. Cover or try to get as many clients to come back as possible. Otherwise, it makes absolutely no sense to go into your own suite. And let's say you get that down, right? You're retaining a lot of your clients. The reason why that's important is because I'm telling you right now, I've seen many barbers leave their barbershop and end up back in the barbershop a few months later. It's because a lot of clients are not going to follow you. You might think clients are loyal, right? And that they're going to follow you wherever you go. In my experience, that's not always the case. You have to count on the fact that maybe 50%, maybe will follow you, right? Even if you go right next door, right? Um, Probably you're going to lose half your clients right off the bat. So that's where the second skill comes in, which is you have to be good at marketing. Right? You have to be able to replace those clients because even if you have good client retention, it'll never be 100%. Like even my best barbers are retaining 90%. They're still losing 10% every single month. So we have to replace those clients that they lost with marketing, right? So if you don't know how to market to get your own clients and you don't retain clients well, then you probably should not open a suite. You probably would make more money and be less stressed working for somebody else, right? So does that answer your question? And you can learn these skills, as soon as possible, really. So that's probably the real answer to your question is you could do it next month if you wanted to, but you have to have those skills. And the reason why I know that is because I've seen many people fail doing the suites. I don't want you to fail. So get those skills down first, get your clients to come back, get really consistent at doing that, and then learn how to fill your own chair outside of what the barbershop owner does for you. And then if you get those two skills down, go for it, you know? So that is all I got for you guys today. If you guys want to connect with me outside of these calls, hit the link in my bio to go to my free community. Otherwise, I'll see you next week, same time. Bye, guys.